analysis and topic research as a web designer and with web design in mind, and how you can use built-in Wix features to improve SEO as you build, and how to launch your site with SEO Confidence. After that, we're going to be taking some Q&A questions, so put those in the Q&A, and we will go through everything there. As I said, this deck has been created specifically for folks who are web designers who maybe have a limited background or maybe have less operational activity in the SEO element. However, I come to you as an adversary from the from the Wix SEO Learning Hub, where we have lots and lots of content there. So we have webinars, podcasts, articles, tutorials, lots and lots of content there. So if you're in this talk and you're saying, oh, this is kind of beginner for me, I'd like to dive a little bit deeper, please visit the Wix SEO Learning Hub and see if that has some more content for you. And I hope that it does. Additionally, I'd like to signpoint you to a few resources. If I'm talking and you're thinking this is a bit over my head or this is a lot, then there are some great introductory resources for SEO. So here I have links to the Intro to SEO video, and we also have the Introduction to Keyword Research video. Both of those are under 5 minutes. And if you go to the link, we'll send you this deck later on. If you go to those links, you can find both the video and also the transcript and lots of relevant links that will help you to get started from, if you're starting from ground zero and you want to build on your skills, then that's a great place to get started. Additionally, if you're a little bit further advanced and you'd like some super actionable tips on implementing sort of design-led Wix elements with an SEO focus, visit the homepage webinar that we have. It's on Wix Classic. However, it's got some great insights on CTAs and other things that you can add to your homepage, which you can incorporate in the wider design in order to align your design with your SEO to get great client results. All of that said, let's get into the meat and potatoes of what we came here to talk about. So let's talk first about focusing on SEO to get good client results. So I want to ask you just quickly, what do these objects all have in common? We have the Tesla, we have the Apple iPhone, and we have a pair of Air Jordans. And just take a moment and think, what do these things actually have in common? What is the unifying idea here?
Logo?
Well, if you haven't guessed, Tesla didn't invent the electric car, but they did make it beautiful. iPhone did not invent the smartphone, but they did make it intuitive. And plenty of folks had made basketball shoes before Nike made the Air Jordans, but they made them iconic. And each of these elements became evolutionary, because they captured something that's really important and something that really makes a product go from sort of meh to magnificent. And that is something that I like to refer to as form and function. And this is important because this is how we truly deliver brilliance when we make sure that these are fully aligned. In fact, famed architect Frank Lloyd Wright once said, the idea that form follows function has been misunderstood. Form and function should be joined in a spiritual union. And I think he's absolutely right. And I think that this idea also applies to websites. So when we think about form, that's things like making sure that you've got a good, solid design language, making sure that you've got, a good understanding of how the brand is expressed on your website. And also thinking about, what is the user experience across your website? All of these things contribute to a good brand experience for people on the website. And you're all fantastic web builders or web designers, and you know how to do this absolutely brilliantly. And when we think about form, it's also important to think about function. So I gave the example of a car there, but the function is sort of the engine of this. So when we think about a website, that's sort of how does it perform in real life? Once you launch the website, what does it actually do? Are people able to engage with it? How does it compare to others? Is it something that is working in the market that users are able to interact with well, and that you're getting great feedback on? And how does it make things better? And how does this make things better for both the business and also for the users who are visiting the website? And I think a car is a great example for this, because if you think about a car that functions on both form and function, it's a car that looks nice, but also helps your family, for instance. So if you're a family of two, then you might then a sports car might be great for you. But if you're a family of seven, then no matter how beautiful the sports car is, you're going to need more seats. So we want to be thinking about form and function in order to get something that works really well for everyone. So all of this helps to shape how valuable people consider the website to be and how Google's ranking system, y'all. A lot of people think that Google is ranking independently of other things. They're using all these algorithms, and there's lots of talk about that. But what people don't realize is that Google's algorithm is essentially, they're using lots of metrics to measure how people value a website. Mm-hmm. So think about it that way. So let's consider how SEO can help your web build to get brilliant client outcomes. Well, first of all, let's just answer a quick question for this perspective, and that is, what is SEO? So for the perspective of web building, SEO is essentially, it's search engine optimization, or it's the process of improving websites to add value for users and thus rank on search engines for organic, not paid search results. And I say it's the process of adding value for users first, because that is what Google is trying to do. They're trying to deliver value for users, and that's why you would rank where you would rank. Yeah. The purpose of SEO is to ensure that search engines like Google can see your website, and that's where technical SEO sort of comes in, and understand your website, and then that users want to see and understand your website. And that's a lot of the stuff around making sure that your content is aligned and works well. So to work well, SEO should be considered throughout the website development and creation process as you're managing your site. And there's lots of terms that SEO use across our discipline. So we'll talk about crawling and indexing and ranking, but essentially all of those things are terms for how Google will crawl, which is to visit all of the websites, all of the pages on your site, to index, to decide what they want to put onto Google's index, and rank, which is decide where they want to put it onto their website or onto Google's index. And we talk about loads of other terms when you're speaking with SEOs. So things like the SERP refers to search engine results pages, which is essentially the pages that you'll see when you go to Google. Keywords, which are the words that people enter into Google to get search results. On-page SEO, which is things like adding headings and adding content and optimizing other elements across the web page to make sure that the page is optimized for when Google crawls and indexes the site. And then we talk a lot about links. SEOs will talk a lot about links, things like internal links and backlinks. Internal links and backlinks are very similar. They're both links. But an internal link is a link from one page on your website to another page on your website. And a backlink is a link from one page or from another person's website to a page on your website. Mm. And also something that we think about, that SEOs think about, and particularly I'm going to mention a few times, is rich results. And rich results are the sort of exciting elements that you see on Google. So for instance, if you enter something like chocolate cake recipe onto Google, you're going to see a little recipe card that has a picture and an image and maybe the review for the recipe. And that's a rich result. And there's lots of those. You see them for jobs, you see them for travel, you see them for lots of different elements. And that's something that you can optimize for as well. Perfect. Now, this might all seem very, very complex, right? I know that sometimes people say, oh, SEO is scary. But actually, it's a little bit like the School of Athens by Raphael. And the reason why I say this is that what we have here is essentially a beautiful, stunning, well-coordinated visual experience. It's like, and Raphael, this is considered a great work of art. And there's lots of reasons why here, the color scheme, the way that's been organized, all of that sort of stuff. But it's actually underpinned by a lot of technical elements. So everything here on this page is aligned to a central point, aligned to a central focus, aligned to making sure that it is really, really highly focused on its objective. And that is something that SEOs are doing with some of their elements. So for instance, all of the different things I was talking about, things like links, things like status codes, technical SEO, keywords, headings, meta descriptions, all of that sort of stuff is all working with all of the beautiful visual elements that you put on your website in order to deliver value for customers. and get great results for customers, just like all of the visual elements that you have on your website. When you do that well, it's seamless. For instance, let's take the example of keywords. Keywords is something that SEOs talk about a lot. Here's a few questions to ask when you're thinking about keywords. And in SEO, keywords are essentially phrases that people use when searching. During a web build, though, keywords can give you insight into content, UI, and design elements that you can use to help meet user expectations. When you're thinking about keywords, for instance, you might also think about the intent of keywords. And keyword intent is a term that describes the reason behind the search. So the type of search that someone is making. So for instance, Google talks about micro moments. They talk about want to do moments, which is when somebody wants to do something like buy something, for instance. Want to go moments, when somebody wants to go to a shop or something like that. And want to buy moments as well. That's another want to do moment. And then also want to know moment, when somebody wants to get some information about something. And when you know what kind of intent is behind a keyword that is related to your website, that can inform your design. So that can inform whether or not you put one element at the top of the page or another element at the bottom of the page, or whether, something should be in the H1 or whether you should have a CTA in the top corner, all of those things. And if you understand that, if you have a top level understanding of that, it can help your design be better. Here's how it works in action. Okay. So let's say you had a keyword of pet grooming near me. That has the intent of want to go. So that's somebody who wants to go to someplace near them. That's why they put the proximity thing there. So near them. So they want to know where this is. And they also want to book, right? So they want to book the pet grooming. They don't just want information about pet grooming. Generally speaking, they want to know where it is and they want to be able to book. So on the website for Happy Tails, for instance, they put on the H1 and at the very top of the page, they made sure they had an image of a dog, which shows, there's a pet, there's a hand there showing that they're doing some pet grooming. And then they also got, that their keyword in the headline. So they're saying, book, dog, and cat grooming in Hamilton. If you were near Hamilton, then this might be something that was really, really relevant for you. And they also have their want to go intent. So they've also added a map onto the website because they know that a keyword that people are using to get to their website has an intent of wanting to go. So they've added a map that shows locations so that if a user comes, they can click directions and they can get into it. And this Wix website has also taken advantage of, so the tool here, so they're using a booking tool and they've added in the want to book intent. So they've added in the booking button there and made sure that was on the homepage as well, so that they're able to use the keyword to amplify the intent and to satisfy that with that research.
Perfect.
So all of this comes from researching user expectation and user intent. And there's a few ways to do that. So we want to be thinking about competitors and we want to be thinking about keywords. So with competitors, we want to be, as designers, we want to be thinking about how we can meet user expectations, how we can understand what users value about top-ranking sites. And we need to make sure that we understand that we have competitors. Of course, we have competitors. The web is wide and wondrous, and there are other folks in the mix, and we should be very aware that that's the case because customers absolutely know that.
Yeah.
With keywords, we want to be thinking about themes. We want to identify areas where Google gets confused, where you might have to make sure that you're very clear with what you're doing. And we also want to identify the media and features that help illustrate the keyword. So for instance, in that dog grooming website, if that was a website that just said dog grooming at the top and didn't have like adorable pictures of pets on it, then that wouldn't be as valuable as the one that does have the pictures of pets, for instance. So let's think about competitors. When we're doing competitor research, it's a little bit like creating a mood board. So you want to be remembering that your site is one of billions. And so when users are coming to your website, they're also going to be going to other websites as well. And you can do that too. So look around at the rest of the web and they ask yourself, what is making you go to one website or another in the niche that you're working in? What's drawing you in? What makes you feel that you can trust that website? So in the dog groomer example, for instance, they might say, we're certified by this, or, we are friends of the RSPCA or, the American Pet Association or whatever it may be. Think about those things. And also consider if there's anything that you didn't like. Was there something that stood out that you thought, there's too many pop-ups here, or there's too many layers here, or that sort of thing. So think about those things as well, because if you didn't like it, then chances are users didn't like it either. And look at what things you might be able to add on the website to add credibility. So what does a SERP look like? What are your competitors doing? What are common features and USPs? And what does best in class look like? This is a great way to get started with competitor research. And this is pretty simple. You don't need extra SEO tools to do.
So guys, I'm going to be posting some of the highlights in this presentation here that they're doing. This is going to be great. This is Wix, and it's focused on SEO, which brings value to whoever is looking up your keywords and is visiting your website, whether it be through your Google profile or your business website. So I'm going to be sharing the highlights with you guys soon. Stay tuned in.
And what does best in class look like? This is a great way to get started with competitor research. And this is pretty simple. You don't need extra SEO tools.
Which brings value to whoever is looking up your keywords and is visiting your website, whether it be through your Google profile or your business website. So I'm going to be sharing the highlights with you guys soon. Stay tuned in.
What are common features and USPs? And what does best in class look like? This is a great way to get started with competitor research. And this is pretty simple. Think about what your competitors are doing. So Google will very often even tell other people who your competitors are, and they'll list them right underneath your Google business profile. Or like if you look up a particular web builder, they'll list lots of people search for this as well. So Google is constantly, regularly showing people competitors. So have an understanding of what those competitors are doing. Look at which intent is being prioritized on those pages. This, for instance, is an Editor X website which was working for an event, and you can see that they're emphasizing buy tickets here on this page, and that shows you that that's a really important part of that page, of that user journey. And make sure that you're thinking about that as you go through your site. I did an analysis of some gardening centers, and a lot of them had their address front and center in the sort of top of the fold of where their address was, whether or not you could do drop up and all drop off. That's it. And all of those sorts of things. And that told me that the location is really important for a garden center, which makes sense because you're probably going to drive to a garden center and pick up a tree or whatever it may be. So have a look at what your competitors are doing. Have a look at what common features and USPs you're seeing. So this is Bolt, they're a Wix user as well, and they have an app. And so they're making sure that their app, the links for their app are really top and front and center when people are going to their website. You might also want to think about if there's a common thread in what the user expects from websites. If you're seeing that a lot of your competitors are using chat features, for instance, that might be something you want to think about. If you're seeing that a lot of them have video tutorials or have reviews or things like that, that's also something that's worth thinking about. And think about best in class. One that I always think it's worth looking at is Amazon. Amazon is everyone's competitor. So have a look at what Amazon is doing, whatever you're looking at. And if you're, for instance, if you're a publisher, think about the New York Times. Think about your favorite website that you spend a lot of time on. What is the reason why it's your favorite website? And is there anything from that experience? It could even be like the fluidity of the checkout feature, for instance. Is there anything about that website that you could incorporate into your site? We've summarized this here in a little downloadable feature that we have. We'll share a link to a blog post on the Wix SEO Learning Hub, which will help you to follow this. And this is a great way to sort of get started with competitor research in a really, really accessible way, and that adds value to your web build. Let's talk a little about keyword research. Yes. Keyword research now. So keyword research is something that can be really, really simple, or it can be really, really complex. To go from a sort of top level, we want to be thinking about where keywords segmented to groups, which themes you see in your keywords, which on-site elements could you use to bring your keyword to life. So here's an example of yoga classes. And on this keyword, you can see some themes already. So for instance, on yoga classes, you can see near me for beginners, and you can see Chicago. So that tells you that location is really important, for instance. So you might want to include a map on the page. It says for beginners, it says for seniors, it says for kids. That tells you that you want to include a mix of audiences on your site, and maybe create a section for those sorts of things. You also see that there's a section about meditation, which might not necessarily be something that's primary if that's not a core business objective. But if it's a topic that's associated with your core topic, then maybe that's something that suggests that people want to think more about how this topic works, and maybe you should include a blog in your website. So when we get into this with keyword segmentation, it's important to think about head terms. And a head term, as I sort of refer to as like a core term, for instance. So if you were an ice cream parlor, then your core term would probably be like ice cream parlor. And then you're going to get down into the sort of elements of that. In this example, I used Google Trends, which is a free tool from Google. Again, that's linked to in the blog. It's a free tool from Google, which will tell you some of the related topics from your core keywords. So on this particular example, we have landscaping, and from here we can see that they're sort of breaking it into rock landscaping, backyard landscaping, but they also have a keyword related to lawn care, which isn't exactly the same keyword, but it's clearly in the same neighborhood. So think about how people are segmenting that. If they're segmenting it by like the types of topics, if they're segmenting it by their needs, that's really important to think about. And then we see common themes in them. So with the landscaping one, what you see is people are saying, how do I make it on a budget? How do I do it for free? So that might tell you that you maybe want to think about including some very clear ideas about price on your website, or maybe even a calculator or that sort of thing. But that price is very important. So that's a priority for your audience. And if we say like different types of landscaping, so around my house, around my garden, around a border, again, it might tell you that within your web build that you want to think about segmenting the content, or creating an area for your content that talks about how you might want to do your landscaping in different sections. So this is from a tool called Also Ask. Again, that's linked in the blog as well. And Also Ask, again, is a free tool, and it can give you an idea of the kinds of questions that people are asking around your content. You also want to think about the on-site elements that you can use to bring a page to life. So for instance, this might be things like your title tags, your H1s, your anchor tags for links, those sorts of things, where if your keyword, for instance, was landscaping, then making sure that you've got those words in the page, and that they are in high priority. So your H1 is like a headline for your page. And so you want to make sure that you've got that keyword in the headline, in the meta description, in the title tag, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And I mentioned a few different tools as we've been going through here. So again, there's links to Also Ask, there's links to Google Trends, there's links to a few other ones. And I also have, and I also recommend that, if you're wanting to sort of get a sort of collection of keywords around a theme, ChatGPT can be a little bit useful for that. And we also have our Wix SEO Setup Checklist, which can help you do keyword research as well. That's built into Wix. And we also have SEO checklists in our blog and our static pages, which can help you do that as well. I'll get into that a little bit more. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get into it now. One of the other things I highly recommend is that you use a lot of the Wix SEO features that are built into the website. And that's essentially because our team works around the clock to make sure that you've got some great tools for you. And we built them specifically for Wix. So I'm going to show you a video that summarizes some of them, but these are particularly good for designers because one of the things that we pride ourselves on is making sure that you've got a great SEO foundation to allow you to prioritize your.
Here's the deal with SEO on Wix. You get a site with out-of-the-box defaults built to the highest technical standards, with server-side rendering for HTML and SEO tags, fully customizable structured data markup, dynamic XML sitemaps, and more. Plus, you get a full suite of built-in SEO features that are continuously updated and improved. No hassles, no plugins, max efficiency. Need more control and flexibility? No problem. Edit your meta tags, page by page, or all in one go. Modify your URLs and inspect all of them in one click. You can even turn on dev mode to create custom code solutions using JavaScript and APIs. Behind all this, you've got a strong infrastructure, complete with enterprise-grade security, 99.98% uptime, and industry-leading performance that ensures you're always online and ready to rank. You know what you're doing. Now you can do it smarter and faster with Wix.
Yes, I'm very excited about this, baby.
And that was something that we put together to sort of summarize some of the work that we do. And I think it's really useful for designers because it allows you to get a great start. Every Wix website and every Wix Studio website has access to all of these features, every premium Wix website. And essentially you've got your server-side rendering, your server-side caching, global CDN, automatic dynamic sitemaps, 301 redirects, bulk meta text, syntax, on and on and on. We spend a lot of time making sure that we've got things that you can use right off the bat. And if you engage with them, then you can see some great results.
Okay.
So Wix SEO tools can help you to optimize as you build. And I highly recommend the SEO Setup Checklist, the SEO Assistant, Create with AI Text, and engaging in lots of different page types. So the SEO Setup Checklist, I'm sure you're all very familiar with, and it's something that helps you to guide you or your clients through making great SEO choices. We've added some fantastic features to this of late that allow you to get some great results and allow you to include keyword research and to carry out that in and action that in your site. Not only that, as soon as you complete the Wix SEO Setup Checklist, you can use the Google Search Console integration and connect to Google. And that means that you can use things like the Wix Site Inspection tool, which allows you to inspect your website after you have been online for a little while to see whether things are valid, whether there are issues and things like that as you go along. And it allows you to action, implement, improve your site for the future. We recently also launched the Wix SEO Assistant with SEMrush keyword research built in. And this allows you to set a keyword, a focus keyword, and then will guide you through the on-page optimizations or your client through the on-page optimizations in order to make sure that you're hitting all of your SEO marks and getting great results. And this is something that will help you to optimize and fix issues on the spot for every post.
Okay.
Additionally, we have the Create with AI Text feature, which has been added into Wix Studio and Wix. And this allows you to create keyword-focused copy for your static pages. And this is something that's really useful, particularly when you're thinking about internal links. So sometimes you might look at a page and you might say, this page doesn't have many links. And if that's the case, then you can, and you're a little bit stuck for text, then you can use this to sort of kickstart your copy creation so that you can add internal links to other pages. And I'm sure you've all used this before, but essentially the way it works is that you would use Create with AI Text, and then you get a few options that you can choose from, and then you select it, and then you can make it live, and you can implement it and add it to your site. And optimize page types. When we think about SEO, the Wix SEO team spends a lot of time making sure that our pages are optimized in many ways, including with built-in rich results. So, or built-in optimizations for rich results. So rich results, again, are things that show up on the SERP and give you great results there. And they help you to be more visible at the top of the SERP, and they're built into lots of our different page types. Here's a few page types that are just built in that you can use on Wix and that give you great optimization capabilities. So for instance, the blog has as an RSS, has built-in optimizations for rich results. The Wix Events also has rich results optimizations built in for structured data. Wix Video also has structured data optimizations. Wix Stores has product feed optimizations and also has rich results optimizations. And when you use the business info feature, you will get local business markup added to your site automatically. And now I'm going to get into a couple of things about how you can launch with SEO Confidence. I think we're running a little bit tight on time, but so I'll go quickly. But here's a few do's and don'ts for folks, which are things that I've seen a lot. So do use high value page types like events, like I mentioned before, but don't forget to complete all the fields. And this particular one, they did complete all of the fields, which is really, really great. But for instance, if you're using the local business info and you're filling in your local business info, make sure you're adding in everything there and you're adding in all of those details. If you're doing events, make sure that you're adding in as much information as you can. If you're doing your blog, make sure you're completing as much information about your blog so that we can pull all of that into the feed into the structured data so that we can help you optimize the site as you build. Do put an H1 on every page. That's really important. But don't use multiple H1s on any page.
Oh.
This is something I see a lot, not just on Wix users, but lots of folks where they put H1s everywhere. And the H1 is a little bit like Beyonce. There should only be one. So make sure that you're doing that there. I would also say that it's important to make sure that you are prioritizing what needs to be prioritized. And H1 says that this is the most important piece on the page, but everything can't be the most important piece of content on the page. So make sure that you've got really good content there. If you're feeling a little bit fuzzy about H1's heading tags and things like that, I've got a link here to a great piece of content on the SEO Hub, so check that out.
Roger that.
Speaking of headings, do use heading tags on your pages, H1s, H2s, H3s, but don't use heading tags that are unclear. So essentially, if you think about your headers, you should be able to read the headers on your page in a single stroke and to be able to understand what's going on. On this particular one, it's a little bit vague about exactly what they're doing, and we should be able to see just from the header tags what the web page is about. This particular snapshot here, again, is from the SEO Pro extension. I've added a link to where to get that. It's a free Chrome extension that I use all the time. Another one is do add SEO meta tags to all indexable pages. That's really, really useful. Your meta title, your meta description, your OG tags, all of that sort of stuff. But don't do them all by one by one. You don't have to. You're on Wix. We have some great bulk optimization capabilities for you. If you use the customized defaults, then you can get some great results there, and you can use variables to create a template for each of these things, just like I've done here. So this says, read this article about, and then post title, learn more about astronomy and space. So for instance, if you can do the same thing for your products where you set a syntax and it will fill for everyone. And if you want to customize it, you go to edit by post and you edit by page and you can customize it for that particular page, but you can use the syntax to make sure that everything is covered as it is created.
Mm-hmm.
Do use a target keyword for each page, but don't just wing it. Make sure that you're using keyword research tools, either using the SERP or using some of the integrations that we have. So again, we have the Wix SEMrush integration, which is built into your website, and it's built into the blogs. And even if you're not doing it individually, you can signpost your clients to this, and they'll get much better results than if they were just making up keywords on the spot.
Okay.
Do add great content to your site, but don't forget to publish your pages, but don't publish your pages without links. So this particular one that I showed before was a big wall of text, and don't do that. You got a big wall of text, like break it up with some formatting, some bullets, some tables, some headers, things like that. But also make sure that you're including links across your site to every page from every page. So internal links help with crawling and indexing. And again, there's some links to some great content on the Wix SEO Hub if you want to dive into those concepts a little bit more. Do use existing templates. Lots of page templates and things like that, and those are great and fantastic, but don't publish a page with unused template pages. So if you go to the Wix Edit by Page feature, you can see the pages that are live on your website for each particular folder type in bulk. And this is a great place to test and see if you have any of those I am a product pages still live on your site, and you can also no index them from here, which is really, really useful. It's not uncommon for web users of all kinds to have template pages still live when they go live, but it's not great practice either. So make sure that you're not launching with template pages still live. Go to edit by page within your Wix SEO settings, and you can see which pages are live by category of page. Do use the SEO Setup Checklist. It's fantastically useful, but don't just set it and forget it. We have the Wix Site Inspection tool, which allows you to see how your site is performing. You can press Inspect again, and you can see how Google is reading your site. We have a timestamp that will tell you the last time that you crawled it, and you can see the progress that you've made there. So make sure that you are thinking of SEO as part of a journey, and that even if you're building and you're launching, make sure you check in with your clients a couple of months after you've launched to make sure that everything is still working as you would expect it to, and that you're getting great results, and they're seeing the kind of response from search that they would expect to see. So when we're launching with SEO Confidence, we want to make sure that we're using high value features and pages, things like the blog, like the events, like the videos that have a lot of SEO optimizations baked into them. Make sure that you're using keywords on your on-page SEO. Again, we have tools that help guide you with this. Add internal links to indexable pages. This is a really, really useful tool. It's really easy and is a great value. And make sure you're decluttering demo pages and any apps that you're not using as well, because those can affect your crawl. So make sure that those aren't hanging around if you don't need them. Use the Wix SEO Setup Checklist and Assistant because they give you lots of great guidance. And if you're not using it, if you're not doing the day-to-day on the website, make sure that your clients are using it so that they get great results from the work that you've done on your web build. And also check in and monitor your progress. And if you do that, then your website will absolutely be a masterpiece. Thank you so much. And now we're going to go over to questions.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Crystal. That was absolutely amazing information. And I'm really glad that we had this deep dive into SEO from a design perspective and from a Wix Studio perspective. There's a bunch of questions to ask. Try to answer as many as we possibly can in here. So let's start with this one. I know it was answered in the chat, but I want to in the Q&A box, but I want to bring it up anyway because it's a really good question. We are rebuilding a WordPress website in Wix Studio. The existing site has good content, which we plan to preserve. It's excellent. Our client has good organic search results on the existing site. How can we ensure that we don't lose that beyond 301 redirects, which we intend to do?
Okay, so you absolutely want to do all of your 301 redirects. That's really important. You also want to try to replicate what is valuable across some of your core pages. So sometimes with migrations, particularly from a design point of view, one of the things that I see overlooked quite regularly is links. So people will say, oh, we're going to redesign the homepage, but the original homepage had 75 links. And now the new homepage has 7 links. And that's going to affect your crawl because what happens is when Google comes to your site, they bounce from link to link to link to link to link. So if you only have 7 links and you used to have 75, then the pages that Google is seeing is going to be minimized. And so make sure that you're keeping some of those core elements. So things like links are really, really important to cover. There's some great Chrome extensions that like broken link checker, I think is one, and that can tell you whether or not you've got broken links afterwards. I would also say with a migration, you want to watch it for a while. So make sure that you're watching it not just a week after, but a month after, check in 3 months after even to make sure that works. And that will give you some good insights into that. Additionally, I think that it's worth thinking about. I always check the backlinks do a backlink audit for any migration to find out any random backlinks. Sometimes there are backlinks to old pages that you didn't even realize were that important, but there was a page that had a backlink to it. Backlinks are really important for how Google crawls your website because for instance, if you think about something like, I don't know, the New York Times, that website gets crawled a lot. Google's visiting that website a lot because people are visiting that website a lot. So if you have a link from that, then that means Google's visiting your website a lot and knows a lot about your website. If you had a link to a random blog that you're looking at and you're like, nobody cares about this blog isn't important, then make sure that you're keeping that link or keeping something similar to that content on the page, because that can be really important during a migration. Also, we have a blog on the Wix website, or the Wix SEO Hub, which talks about search modifiers, where you can enter Google and you go site. So SITE : and then the domain for your website. And that's really important. Before you migrate, run that and see how many pages Google is indexing, see which pages Google is indexing, and make sure that you have dedicated migration plan for each of those pages, because those are going to be some of your most important pages from a migration point of view.
Yeah, and you may notice as you migrate, there might be a little bit of a dip in traffic and it returns back. John Mueller from Google has said as much, that sometimes it takes a little while to figure it all out, so don't worry. Speaking of checking on things, someone asked, how often should I be checking on my SEO data?
Maybe weekly, I would say.
So I think that this depends on the cadence of your business. So if you have a business that is a lead generation business or that has a sort of long tail, like has a long sales cycle,
Mhm.
then generally